Good morning and good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Author's Corner. I hope you're all having a lovely day, and I hope you're all staying nice and warm. Thank you for joining us today. Last episode was on both Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. The second chapter was a bonus just to make up for the week before. Today we will be doing Chapter 3. Just sit back and relax and enjoy. Chapter 3. The next morning seemed brighter than the day before. The morning dragged by quickly, eager to get things done. Tracy was surprised to see her parents in the afternoon. They were barely inside as she raced to hug them. "Happy birthday, Tracy," her mom replied as they were completely inside the house. "Thanks, Mom." Her mom stared at the house with a look that she said she was happy that she didn't have to clean the house all the time. "Wow, it's pretty clean." Her mom inspected half the house. She walked into the kitchen to find nothing on the countertops. She put some stuff down on the shelves and raised some questions toward Tracy. "What have you been doing to keep yourself company?" "Nothing," Tracy added with a smile. "Are you sure?" Her mom winked at her. "Yes, Mom." "Why don't we go out and find a nice place to eat?" her dad suggested. "I think that would be a very good idea. Well, I'll do us some good." As Tracy and her mom went upstairs, she asked her mom if it was because it was her birthday. "Don't be silly, sweetie. We just never get to spend enough time with you." Her mom hugged her once again. Tracy missed her mom's arms around her. She held onto her for a while. "Well, we better hurry up before your dad has a fit and sees us still standing here," her mom responded, and they both laughed before they went upstairs to change. They were all out of their morning clothes and dressed in their afternoon clothes before they left. Her dad never had the time to take them out anywhere for dinner. The last time she remembered her dad taking them out was when she was about 5 years old. It still felt a bit odd, as they had just came down for her birthday. They rarely ever come to town. Even if they did, it was either for a few short hours or for the night and left in the morning. It was still a surprise to Tracy that he was willing to do something like that. As they arrived at the restaurant, Tracy was stunned to see how expensive everything was. She beamed happily at her mom, and her mom smiled back. As they got their seats and ordered for their food, her dad decided to give her the present. "What is it?" Tracy just stared at the tiny box. "Open it and see." Her dad smiled and turned his gaze on his wife. They both leaned back and watched Tracy open it. She lifted the lid carefully. When she opened it, she was shocked to see what it was. She traced her fingers on the diamonds of the necklace. Also, she found a tiny imprint in the box and on the back of the necklace. She just sat there stunned and happy, not knowing what to say. Both her parents laughed when she couldn't even take the words out of her mouth. "Are you serious?" she finally replied in a small blow of breath. "Do you like it?" Her dad sat back and waited for her next reaction. "Are you kidding? I love it." "Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. You're the best." She hugged them both. "I saw it in the window, and it was the same one you wanted a while ago." "The one that you wouldn't let me get. Remember that?" "Yes, I do. And I knew that you wanted it so bad, so got it for you for a better price than it was before." He watched her putting it on and fingered it as it fell perfectly into place around her neck. "How much was it?" "Just as long as you love it, you don't need to ask me that question." They all laughed. "I really love it. It's the best. Thank you, Dad." "Thank you, Mom. We're glad that you like it." Her mom smiled. Just as their food came, her dad sighed. "Finally, I was beginning to wonder if we were the only ones that aren't starving." They stared at some people who were still waiting for their food, and Tracy just laughed. Just before they ate, her dad made a toast. "To the wonders of all the things that can happen, and to Tracy." Their glasses clicked, and their laughter rang out far more than it ever has. It took them almost an hour to leave and drive back home. They walked inside with laughter and smiles on their faces. Just then, her dad explained to her that they both had to make leave for work that night. "Will you be okay home alone?" Her mom gave an expression of worry. "Yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I've been home alone before. It's no big deal." Tracy grinned. Her mom smiled back at her. They hugged once again and said happy birthday once again before they left. Tracy stood in front of the doorway with a smile where they stood for less than 5 minutes and made it all last as a memory that she wanted to keep forever in her heart. She closed her eyes and smiled at the thoughts that were running through her mind. She made her way into the kitchen, happy to find an excuse not to worry about anything at all. When she reached the landing at the bottom of the stairs, the doorbell rang. She walked slowly towards it and opened it. She breathed in a silence of relief when it was only David. "What's wrong?" He gave in to that frown that she had, but it quickly faded into a smile. "Nothing. I just thought you were someone else. That's all," she replied when he gave a worried look. "Are you sure?" Played with her thoughts. "Yes, I'm sure. Come on, I want to show you something." She closed the door, took his hand in hers, and went up to her room. When they were in her room, he closed the door. "I want to give you something," he replied. "Can't wait. I'm sure we can wait for the rest of them to come," Tracy replied with a smile. "Well, this is something special that can't wait," David replied, taking out a small, tiny box out of his pockets. "Open it." He watched her take it in her hands and admired it for a while. When she opened it, her face took on a surprising look before she turned her gaze back to David. "You like it? I got it especially for you. Look here, there's an engravement behind it. See?" He held it in front of her with his hand shaking a bit, but he hid it, not wanting her to see that. He waited for a while to know what she was thinking. "You don't like it?" His smile turned into a frown. She looked back at him as if he had said the stupidest thing. "No, of course not. I love it. It's the best thing I've gotten so far, including this necklace, actually, that my parents gave me." She fingered the necklace in front of him. "It's beautiful, but not as beautiful as you." David looked at the diamonds that shone in the light and looked up at her. "My parents got it for me." "Yeah, I can tell." He looked deep in her eyes, and at that moment they were able to hear each other's thoughts and what they felt inside. His gaze turned softer and brought his lips to hers. His lips grazed softly against hers. Letting him take control, she found herself against the wall as he ground his hips gently into hers. David's lips moved to her jawline, then her neck, eliciting a moan from his kisses. Tracy moved her fingers to undo one button at a time to touch his skin. David moved his lips back to hers and kissed her with deep passion and lust. With a final kiss, he let her go, and their foreheads touched, their breathing ragged. "I have one more thing for you." "Really?" "Really. But I can wait until everybody leaves." David chuckled. "I can't wait," she whispered. "I love you. I love you too." He kissed her one last time before they went downstairs. They walked into the den and heard heavy footsteps stumbling in. "Hey, Tracy, am I the first one?" Josh cried out, stumbling and drunk. He walked around for a while before he was able to know where he was going. He walked into the den to find Tracy and David sitting there watching television. "What's the matter with you, man?" David stared at Josh with a stunned look on his face. I was running like crazy from my house. I don't know what got over me." Josh threw himself onto the couch, gasping for breath. He wheezed like a baby. Tracy ran up to get him some water. She sat beside him and put her arms around him. "Are you okay?" She just stared at him. He gasped for breath before he was able to talk. I'll be Fine. He wheezed and tumbled on his words. Their gazes turned toward the television. That wasn't funny, Josh finally said without difficulty after 10 minutes of silence. To ease in some better conversation, rather than lingering on one thing, Josh changed the subject. What wasn't funny? David smiled at Tracy. The way you were here before me? It wasn't meant to be, dude. Whatever, man. Josh ignored him and turned to Tracy. What do you think David got you? He winked. Yeah, I don't think you need me anymore. Tracy went and sat beside David. She just shook her head and ignored him. They both stared at Josh as a smile widened at the both of them. Tracy gave a heavy sigh and left. Would you get me some more water? Thanks, you're a doll, Josh replied, reaching his arm out with the cup in his hand without giving her time to think. I'm sure you can get it yourself now that you're feeling better. Aw, come on. That's no way to talk to me. He got up and walked towards her. She dodged away from him and left. Did you just see what she just did to me? She ran away from me, man. David laughed at him. It's not funny, She won't even let me hug her, and it's her birthday. Probably because you're disgusting. David chuckled. Tracy snuck a peek at them. Josh saw her and ran after her. They both stopped at the front of the door, struggling with each other, and saw Billy and Sean coming in. What the hell are you doing? I'm trying to hug her, but she won't let me. It's probably because you're disgusting, Sean repeated. He and Billy both laughed. Now, where were we? Josh turned around to find Tracy gone. He walked into the den and saw them all sitting there. What's with you, man? Sean asked. He's high on drugs. I see him take them every night, Billy laughed. Josh mocked him. You know nothing of me. Josh threw himself on an empty couch. Yeah, right. Your blood is in mine as mine is in yours, which makes you my brother. So technically, I know you. Your room is across from mine. They all stared at Josh, who looked confused. Whatever, man. He turned away from them and tried to do something productive. That evening passed by quickly, with the 5 of them doing something, and waited for Sarah and Heather to come. They finally came when it was past the time Tracy wanted them to come at. What took you so long? David asked. Sarah didn't answer him. She just reached over for a chip from the bowl on the table. Car was running low? Heather shrugged, looking at Sarah. He nodded his head, not sure if he was to believe them or not. Are we going to get this party started or what? Was all Billy had to say to get the music and the party started. Heather and Sarah found other ways to amuse themselves. They stared at Tracy, who was also having fun. After 10 minutes, Sarah and Heather left. As Billy went to call them, he found them leaving. Why are you leaving? This place is junk. We're going to go somewhere else. Billy stared at Sarah with a disgusting look on his face. He stared at Heather, who was on the verge of tears. He didn't know what to do. Billy just went back to the living room. So, where are they? David asked. They left. He just shrugged. Tracy hid the tears and the anger inside and kept a smile on her face. Why did we have to leave? They sat in the car watching the light inside grow brighter. Can't stand her. I don't even know why I came. Heather didn't want to say anything that would get Sarah mad. They heard their laughter and the screams. Sarah couldn't stand their laughter. They left as soon as they could. He tried to picture himself walking in on them, killing them all. He pictured their bodies on top of each other as he ripped their garments off and their guts were piled up beside each other. He could even picture blood dripping wet from the ceiling as confetti, and their lungs hanging up and blown up in balloons. He got the shivers just thinking of that. Oh, how much he wanted to do it. If only he had the chance to do it, he would. He could picture them once again. If only he could. If only he could. End of chapter 3. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode. You can leave a comment and let us know what you think. Stay tuned for next week's episode where we will be hosting our first live with our first guest. Our phone lines will be open for anyone to call in. You can also head on over to our website, communications-inc.org, where you can subscribe to our mailing list and join in on the conversations. You can also join our Patreon account where you can get 10% off any purchase. I hope you'll all be joining us for our first live next week. Please like and subscribe and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you for joining us.